Take a breath, not the kind of breath you take on autopilot, but a conscious breath in and out, because right now, in this very moment, you're being invited to step out of the chaos of your mind and into the intelligence of something far greater than you. Something ancient, something infinite, something that has never once lost control, and that is God. Now when I say God, I'm not speaking of a man in the clouds or a figure bound to religion. I'm speaking of the divine intelligence that breathes life into every cell of your body. The same force that orchestrates galaxies, that synchronizes the beat of your heart with the tides of the moon. That force, call it God, call it source, call it love. It knows what it's doing, but here's the thing. You've been trying to do it all yourself. You've been knuckling your way through life, overthinking, second guessing, worrying about the past, stressing about the future, acting like the weight of the entire universe is on your shoulders. But it isn't, and it never was. You see, worry is the mind rehearsing the worst possible outcome. Trust is the soul remembering that it's already done, and here's what science is showing us. Every time you think a thought, you fire a neural circuit. Do it repeatedly, and that circuit becomes hardwired, your new default setting. So if you keep thinking fear, if you keep energizing stress, guess what? You train your body to live in survival. You teach your nervous system that the world is unsafe. But when you begin to trust, when you begin to release the illusion of control, you create space for something miraculous, alignment. You shift from chaos to coherence, from reaction to creation, from effort to surrender. And when you do that, life changes, because now you're no longer manifesting from fear. You're partnering with the Creator. And let me tell you something powerful. God can do more in one moment of surrender than you can do in a lifetime of striving. So today, you let go, not because you're weak, but because you're wise. You stop trying to figure it all out. You stop trying to force the river to flow. You pause, you breathe, and you say, God, I don't know how, but I trust that you do. And with that, you open yourself to infinite intelligence. You become receptive. You become magnetic. You become free. So stop worrying, start trusting, let God handle it, because when you do, you don't just change your life, you change your biology, your energy, your future. And that is when the miracles begin. Worry is the mind rehearsing failure. Trust is the soul remembering truth. Every time we worry, we engage in a mental simulation of a future that hasn't happened. A future where things go wrong, where we lose, where we suffer. The brain doesn't know the difference between what's vividly imagined and what's actually experienced. So with every anxious thought, the body responds as if the failure is real. Your heart races. Your breath shortens. Stress hormones flood your system, and over time this becomes your norm, a conditioned state of fear. But worry isn't intuition, it's not wisdom, it's simply the misuse of imagination. It's rehearsing the worst case scenario so often that it begins to feel inevitable. It's a defense mechanism that gives you the illusion of control, as if by predicting disaster you can somehow avoid it. But all you're really doing is wiring your brain and body for more stress, more uncertainty, and more self-doubt. Trust, on the other hand, is not passive. It's not pretending everything is fine when it isn't. It's the deep, internal decision to believe in something greater than your circumstances. Trust comes from the soul, the part of you that remembers what the mind forgets, that you're supported, that you're guided, that life has intelligence beyond your understanding. It's the soul whispering, even when you can't see the way, there is a way. When you shift from worry to trust, you're not ignoring reality. You're choosing which version of reality you want to energize. And that choice shapes your experience. The more you rehearse trust, the more you train your nervous system to feel safe, even in the unknown. You build a new emotional baseline, one rooted not in fear, but in knowing. You are not in control, but you are always being guided. From the time we're young, we're taught that control equals safety. That if we just plan enough, work hard enough, anticipate every possible outcome, we can prevent pain and secure our future. So we grip tightly to our goals, our timelines, our expectations, believing that if we don't, everything will fall apart. But life has a way of unraveling our illusions. Plans collapse, people leave, doors close. And in those moments, control reveals itself for what it truly is, a comforting but fragile illusion. Yet while control may be an illusion, guidance is not. There is an intelligence moving through your life, even when you can't see it. The missed opportunities, the delayed answers, the unexpected turns, none of it is random. There is a deeper order at work, a divine current that sees farther than your limited mind ever could. But that guidance isn't loud or forceful, it whispers, it nudges, it often comes through stillness, through intuition, through the quiet knowing that doesn't come from logic, but from something beyond it. Being guided doesn't mean you sit back and do nothing. It means you listen, you align, you respond. It means you move with life, not against it. You make space for inspiration instead of only relying on information. When you surrender the need to control, you create the openness necessary to receive. You begin to realize that your role isn't to dictate how things should go, but to attune to how things are unfolding. And in that space, something powerful happens. You begin to notice the signs, the synchronicities, the effortless connections. You begin to see that you were never alone in any of it. Something wiser has always been walking with you. Letting go is not weakness, it's spiritual intelligence. In a world that glorifies hustle, control, and constant doing, surrender is often mistaken for giving up. But letting go is not about quitting. It's about releasing the illusion that your will alone is enough to carry the weight of the world. It takes far more strength to release than to cling. Clinging comes from fear. The fear that if you don't hold on, everything will fall apart. But letting go comes from trust, from a deep inner knowing that there is a force far more capable, far more intelligent, orchestrating life's details in ways you can't always see. The ego wants to control because it fears uncertainty. It believes that safety lies in prediction and domination. But the soul knows that real power comes from alignment, not force. Spiritual intelligence is the ability to recognize when your energy is better spent listening than pushing, trusting rather than analyzing, allowing instead of resisting. It's the wisdom to know when it's time to act, and when it's time to release. Letting go doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop trying to manage outcomes with fear. You stop trying to micromanage the universe. It means you do your part, then release the rest into something greater than yourself. It means you allow space for the unexpected, for the divine, for the possibility that what you're reaching for may not be what you actually need. There is profound strength in loosening your grip, in choosing inner peace over outer control, in trusting the flow of life more than the plan you've mapped out. Letting go is the conscious decision to partner with the unseen rather than be consumed by the unknown. It's the sign of someone who has awakened to a deeper truth. Stress is a signal to realign, not a lifestyle to accept. Most people have normalized stress to the point where they wear it like a badge of honor. We equate being overwhelmed with being productive, as if exhaustion is proof of dedication. But stress is not meant to be a permanent state. It's a messenger. It's your body's way of telling you that something is out of alignment. Whether it's your thoughts, your environment, your expectations, or your emotional attachments, stress shows up when the inner world is no longer in harmony with the truth of who you are. When you experience stress, your nervous system shifts into survival mode. You become reactive instead of creative, defensive instead of receptive. Your vision narrows, your breath shortens, and your ability to access higher thought, intuition, wisdom, clarity shrinks. In that state, you can't hear the quiet voice of guidance. You're too busy bracing for impact that may never come. But stress doesn't arrive to punish you. It arrives to wake you up, to pull your attention inward, to say, something needs to change here. That might be the way you're thinking, the story you're telling yourself, or the expectations you're trying to live up to. Stress invites you to pause, to breathe. to ask deeper questions instead of continuing on autopilot. Realignment begins with awareness. When you stop accepting stress as your normal, you open the door to transformation. You start to make decisions from clarity instead of panic. You begin to design your life based on peace, not pressure. The goal isn't to eliminate all tension, but to become skilled at recognizing it as a signal, not of failure but of guidance. Stress is not the enemy, it's a compass pointing you back to yourself. Your thoughts wire your brain, so choose trust over fear. Every thought you think is not just a fleeting moment of inner dialogue, it's a biological event. When you think a thought repeatedly, you fire specific neural pathways, and the more you fire them, the more you reinforce them. This is how habits are formed, not just in behavior, but in emotion, in perception, in identity. You literally sculpt the architecture of your brain with the thoughts you choose to entertain. When fear dominates your thinking, it becomes your default operating system. You start seeing through a lens of scarcity, doubt, and defensiveness. Even neutral situations are interpreted as threats. The brain learns to expect danger, to prepare for disappointment, to anticipate failure. And the body follows. Stress chemicals like cortisol and adrenaline surge. Muscles tighten, the heart races. Over time, this chronic state of survival becomes familiar. So familiar that peace starts to feel unsafe, and trust feels naive. But trust is not a passive hope that things will work out. It's an active choice to rewire your mind, to interrupt the pattern, to tell your brain a new story, one where you are supported, where outcomes are not rooted in fear but in purpose. When you choose trust, you engage different neural circuits. You stimulate regions of the brain responsible for calm, clarity, and creativity. You send a new message to the body, it's safe now. You don't have to brace anymore. This is how change begins, not with external circumstances, but with internal alignment. The mind is not fixed. It's adaptable, flexible, alive. And every time you choose a thought aligned with faith instead of fear, you move closer to becoming the version of yourself who no longer needs to control everything in order to feel at peace. Control creates resistance, surrender creates flow. When you try to control every outcome, every detail, every step along the way, you begin to move against the natural current of life. Control is rooted in fear. The fear that if you don't handle everything yourself, it will all collapse. So you grip tighter, plan harder, push further. But the more you try to force life into your expectations, the more resistance you meet. The doors that once seemed open begin to close. Opportunities slip through your fingers. Exhaustion replaces inspiration. Resistance is the signal that you're out of sync with the larger rhythm of creation. It's like paddling upstream, trying to dominate the river instead of learning how to ride it. It's draining, and it disconnects you from the very intelligence that could be guiding you to something better than you imagined. Control limits the field of possibilities. It tries to shape life into a narrow vision based on past fears and limited understanding. Surrender, on the other hand, is not giving up. It's opening up. It's choosing to let life move through you instead of trying to manipulate it. When you surrender, you don't lose power, you gain alignment. You begin to move in harmony with the unseen forces that are already working on your behalf. Flow becomes available, ideas come more easily, solutions arise without force, people show up at the right time. Surrender reconnects you with the intelligence of the heart, the body, and the present moment. It doesn't mean you stop taking action. It means your actions are no longer fueled by desperation, but by clarity. You begin to trust that what's meant for you will find you, not because you controlled every variable, but because you made space for grace to move. God operates in the unseen. Your job is to believe, not micromanage. Much of the stress and anxiety people carry comes from trying to manage what's beyond their control. There is a need to see the full path, to know every step, to predict how and when things will happen. But the nature of divine intelligence doesn't work on human timelines or in human logic. The real work happens in the invisible. Roots grow before flowers bloom. Foundations form before structures rise. And the answers you seek are often unfolding long before you ever perceive the evidence. Micromanaging the universe is an exhausting job. It places the burden of orchestrating outcomes entirely on your shoulders. It assumes you must solve, fix, and control every aspect of your journey. But the truth is, you were never meant to carry that weight. Your job is not to make everything happen. Your job is to stay in alignment with trust, to hold the vision, and to act when called, not to constantly push and force. Faith is the ability to remain grounded in what hasn't yet materialized. It's believing that just because you can't see movement doesn't mean there isn't progress. In fact, the most profound shifts often occur behind the scenes, in silence, in stillness, in delay. When you learn to trust the process without having to oversee every detail, you open yourself to divine timing, to divine precision, to divine orchestration. The energy you bring into a situation, faith or fear, trust or doubt, shapes how it unfolds. When you release the need to micromanage and choose instead to believe, you partner with something much greater than logic. You allow the space for miracles, synchronicities, and unexpected breakthroughs to occur without your constant intervention. The greatest miracles come when you step back and let God in. There is a point in every journey where effort reaches its limit. You've done everything you know to do, planned, prepared, tried, pushed, and yet the outcome still hangs beyond your grasp. It's in these moments, when your strength feels spent and your strategies no longer produce results, that a deeper opportunity arises. This is the space where miracles are born, not from more striving but from surrender. Miracles do not respond to pressure. They respond to openness. They arrive when you release the need to control the outcome and instead make room for something higher to take over. It's a shift from doing to allowing, from force to flow. You step back, not in defeat, but in reverence for the intelligence that sees the whole picture while you only see a part. You stop trying to manipulate life and instead become receptive to the ways life wants to bless you. Letting God in doesn't mean you lose your agency. It means you invite a power into your situation that transcends human limitation. You're no longer operating from willpower alone. You're making space for grace, for insight, for alignment that surpasses logic. The miracle isn't just in the outcome, it's in the shift that happens inside of you when you choose to trust. You start to live from a place of peace even before the answer arrives. In that peace, things begin to move. Doors open. Solutions appear, timing aligns. What once felt stuck suddenly flows. What once felt impossible starts to unfold naturally. This isn't coincidence. It's the byproduct of your willingness to release control and allow divine intelligence to do what only it can do through you and for you. Fear disconnects, faith connects. Fear is a powerful force that narrows your perception and isolates you from the greater reality of life. When fear takes hold, your mind focuses on threats, dangers, and worst-case scenarios. It creates a barrier between you and others, between you and your true self, and most importantly, between you and the unseen guidance that is always available. Fear contracts your energy, causing you to withdraw, protect, and defend. It severs your connection to intuition, to creativity, and to the natural flow of life's intelligence. Faith, on the other hand, expands your awareness and deepens your connection. It opens your heart and your mind to possibilities beyond the visible. Faith bridges the gap between where you are and where you want to be by allowing you to trust in what you cannot yet see. It reconnects you to your inner knowing, to your purpose, and to the larger web of life that supports you. When you choose faith over fear, you break free from isolation and step into unity. You begin to sense the subtle guidance, the signs, the synchronicities that align you with your path. Fear binds you to the past and traps you in a cycle of survival. It keeps you stuck in patterns of doubt and resistance. Faith liberates you from these limitations. It invites you to move forward with courage and confidence, even when the way is unclear. Faith doesn't ignore challenges or pretend difficulties don't exist. Instead, it empowers you to face them with trust that something greater is working on your behalf, By embracing faith, you open channels of communication with the unseen, with your higher self, and with divine intelligence. This connection fuels hope, resilience, and creative energy that can transform your life in ways fear never could. Faith is the bridge that reconnects you to wholeness and flow. Stop striving, start aligning. Society often teaches us that success, peace, and happiness come from relentless effort. Pushing harder, working longer, and controlling every aspect of our lives. Striving is seen as the hallmark of determination and strength. But there is a subtle trap in this mindset. Striving keeps you locked in a cycle of tension and struggle, exhausting your energy and clouding your clarity. It keeps you chasing results without tuning into the deeper currents of life that guide you effortlessly toward your highest good. Aligning, in contrast, is a different way of being. It's about tuning into the present moment and the intelligence within you, the wisdom of your heart, your intuition, and the divine presence that flows through all things. Alignment means pausing the endless chase and asking, what feels right? What flows easily? Where is the resistance? Instead of forcing outcomes, aligning invites you to move in harmony with the energy around you. It allows you to access a state of flow where action is effortless, inspired, and powerful. When you stop striving, you create space for alignment to occur. This is where transformation happens, not because you're doing more, but because you're doing differently. You begin to listen rather than react, to respond rather than resist. Your choices come from a place of clarity rather than confusion, from peace rather than pressure. Alignment connects you to your purpose and to the opportunities that match your highest potential. The more you align, the more your life reflects your true self. The people, situations, and experiences that resonate with your energy show up naturally. You move with grace instead of grinding through resistance. This shift doesn't mean life becomes effortless all the time, but it does mean that your energy is used wisely, your stress decreases, and your impact increases. Alignment transforms striving into sacred flow.